Welcome to Echoes and Roots. I'm Sabine, and I guide you back to nature, to your inner wisdom, and our ancestral ways of living in harmony with Mother Earth and the cosmos. Hello, welcome everybody. And today I want to talk a little bit about peace and explore the topic of how we can create more peace within us and in our immediate surroundings, and then also on the world, because we have a lot of war timelines happening right now, and it is creating fear in people. It is creating division. It is creating frustration and helplessness as well in people. And there is, when we look at the global landscape, our sphere of influence only is so much. And when we look into really making a commitment to create more peace here for us, for all of us, it does really start with ourselves, because with ourselves, that is where we have the most influence, and with our immediate surroundings. And I also wanted to remind you that we always had, I think always, or at least for a long time, we had wars here. But we also had civilizations here that lived for a long time in peace. So we had different indigenous civilizations, not all of them, some were very warring, but different ones. When you, for instance, look at the Hopi, they lived for 2,000 years in peace, as a peaceful civilization. We had other, like some of the Maori, and then we had other civilizations. So for instance, the research I'm doing, which is more based in Europe, there is a lot of evidence that the builders of the megalithic temples in Malta lived also, when you look at the astronomical dating of these temples, which is different than the textbook dating, they have lived as well for thousands of years in peace, really highly evolved with incredible fertility temples. Then we had the Minoans in Crete, who were a civilization that engaged in trade and everything, but as well were peaceful and were really also flourishing with art. I believe also the original builders of the temples in Minorca initially lived in a peaceful civilization. You had always later on what is also important with history is to recognize then that different groups came there, took over, had different customs. So there is of course also evidence, as well as in Malta as in Minorca, of later on practices that were harmful, like sacrifices, etc. But I believe these are coming not from the original builders, from later civilizations. And in Europe, you can really follow that history, because you see the Phoenicians generally brought this kind of worship of Baal, the kind of human and animal sacrifices into different places. And there is a bigger history, because the Phoenicians were influenced by the Hyksos king line, which already comes out of an invasion into Sumeria at 8900 BC, where this line was literally created. And this line has a lot of metatronic DNA. If you look at the DNA point, it's a Jehovian, I think, Anunnaki line, the Hyksos kings. But also it's, when we just look from our duality standpoint, right, it is a bloodline that is very warring, that really wants to dominate, that wants to control, that is connected to spirits, that because what is happening with these sacrifices, when you also look at everything that's coming out now with Epstein, it's like the child trafficking, the child sacrifices. Why is this being done? Because it creates energy, and we have beings and entities here on our planet that feed off energy. That is basically the Metatronic system. I spoke about this many times. It's a finite energetic system. that wants to preserve longevity and immortality that way. But we also have the natural order that is really in protection, in preservance of life here. And so we have many civilizations here on the planet that created peace among themselves. Another one, I think, is the builders of the Orkney megalithic sites, where you also see there, I don't think there was warfare going on initially. And what is common, what is really interesting, is to look at these peaceful civilizations and to look at, okay, what is common among them? How have they achieved this? And we also had this, that really civilizations turned around from being extremely warring to, no, now we make a commitment to peace, and really laid their weapons down, buried their weapons, and then lived peacefully for hundreds of years. And when you even look at the European Union right now, and you might think whatever you want to think about the European Union, but before the European Union, we had hundreds, thousands of years of wars between the different European countries up until the Second World War. But also before that, I mean, the number of wars we had between European countries is incredible. And now, I mean, it is a short time, but we do have peace since after the Second World War, at least between the European countries. And it's also, for instance, for us to ask ourselves, what is the commitment we can make to continue that peace, at least here, I'm European, but for others who are listening from Europe, in the countries we are in. And I mean, we have, of course, a lot of tendencies that are very right-wing right now in the different European states, and a lot of this kind of blaming everything on immigrants. But again, it's really about us doing the inner work and going away from this victimism thinking and blaming others for the issues we are seeing in our lives. And really recognizing, really making peace a priority in our life and in our immediate surroundings. So I want to look a little bit at, we're going to do a nice meditation at the end that's connecting us to, hopefully, you're feeling really peaceful within. So I want to look at some of, I think, how these peaceful civilizations organized themselves and what they did to preserve peace. Because, it's really, it's work, we all have this duality within us. We all feel at times, like we all have patterns and traumas and triggers because growing up is never perfect. And like everything that happens in life there's really difficult things that happen in life, but then it's a commitment to not be in the jealousy, to not be in the blaming modality, in the victim modality. It's really, I think that's the lessons the human can learn about how to navigate this life in the best way, and not just for ourselves, but also for the people around us, for the community we are part of, because we are part of the whole. We are part of everyone around us. We are part of Mother Earth, of this planet, for everything here that's alive, for the nature, with everything. So how do we keep up that balance? And I really so I'm reading right now a book called The 13, what is it exactly called? Oh yeah, The 13 Clan Martyrs. It's really nice. It's by Jamie Sams, and I'm reading it in preparation for my course, Rewriting the Mother Story, that's coming up at the beginning of April. And that course is very dear to me, because I feel so much of the traumas we have comes from the disconnection to the loving and nurturing mother. And as we are becoming mothers and as we are daughters, there is so much that we can do in those relationships. And I mean, when I became a mom, I hadn't really started with much inner work, like me being a parent. Because your kids, they're gonna bring up the biggest triggers in you. I can tell you, like, there is nothing else. Maybe your romantic partner as well, but not necessarily. The kids are the ones that gonna potentially trigger you the most. And this is where really, really you have to look into, your ancestral patterns and your upbringing. And this is where, I've done also so many things as a mom that, I'm not proud of. But of course, these situations, they propel us into reflection and into inner work. And with the course, I really also want all the women are going to join us to connect. Men can actually also join. Yeah, but I think it is very much made for women, but that doesn't mean men don't have issues with their mother. That's even a worse thing. Like, if you date someone, you should really ask about what's their connection to their mother, because so there's a couple of red flags there. What's their connection to their family? How are they getting on with the family? That is like that tells a lot. But what I want to say, no, but for us to really connect to, especially also our inner mother, because when we really nurture the inner mother, we can show up so much better to everyone in our life, because we learn to really nurture our own needs and also set healthy boundaries and cultivate this really loving relationship. So that's what the course is about. But anyways, I'm reading the book in preparation because there's so much to learn from indigenous wisdom, especially around like this, being like a wise woman and being like a wise mother in a way. So there's this one story. So these different clan mothers, they are having different tasks depending on their talents. And one of them, she is the speaker of justice. And so whenever there's a dispute in the tribe, and so, actually, I need to come back to what these peaceful civilizations have in common. So generally what we find in these peaceful civilizations is they did live in a very communal way. So they had those tribes, or they had at least clusters where they lived, and then occasionally when you look, for instance, I think what happened in Malta as well as in Orkney, for big festives like solstice, etc., they would come all together, but otherwise they lived in those communities. And in the communities were egalitarian. So you were egalitarian between men and women. Very often, actually, there was a strong matriarchal, I mean, not to say about that, but like there was a strong focus that the matriarchy was a little bit stronger. But let's say I think actually Malta was really equal, and then also everybody in that community was seen as equal. And of course, you had different roles. You had people that acted as not like a king queen, but just as advisors, as counselors to protect the peace. And then you had others that acted as healers. You had people that brought out like crafts, people that were builders, and everybody, it was really clearly understood that everybody is part of the whole and has the same value, no matter what your talent is. And when you, for instance, even think about the in the past, like the buildings we built, like masonry, like builders, incredible, like the knowledge we had and the talents. And the other day I saw this post, is like looking at the cathedral, and it was like, oh, you can't believe this cathedral was built by hand and mortar. And I'm like, yes, they were. There was a time before 10,000 BC where we had tools that could be charged with the fifth dimensional frequency of Tara, and that then basically helped us to levitate objects and helped us to really, when you see the stones really from that time, to cut perfectly stones. And originally, we had some buildings that we built like this, like the Cheops pyramids originally, because they were built 50,000 BC, but then they were rebuilt by hand. So these stories where you see in Egypt now how they rebuilt them by hand, that is true. And all the incredible cathedrals, they were built by hand. This was a craft we once had. you know, like, and I mean, so much was lost in the, especially First and Second World War, because there are always like these big wars. That is also what is so, it always brings us back. What is so detrimental about the wars we have on our planet? We have so much knowledge in a civilization, and so much talents, and then we have a big war, and then everything gets lost. So that's why we're now sitting, oh, how were these cathedral built? Well, you know, we once did it, and especially masonry was so refined and so incredible, and yeah, now we can't replicate it because we simply lost the knowledge, and also we lost the art itself, because we're not training anymore in the same way. Because back then, you know, people would really train for a long time in their talent to perfect it, because everything you want to do is about training. I mean, I see this now with my harp playing and my music lessons, singing. It's like, yeah, the hours you put in training, the better you get. It's not about who has a good voice or a bad voice. It's just about how much you practice. And it's the same with everything else. So we would really practice our skills and refine it and learn it for a long time. And we would already from very little age kind of know what is the special talent we have, and then really refine that. And yeah, anyway, so going back, so we had egalitarian societies with where people just had different roles but still seen. And you can also sometimes see this in the living quarters from these ancient civilizations, that there was no king and queen quarter. You know, that is very hierarchical societies coming out of that metatronic consciousness of, I need to rule and you are below me, you know, and you should not have access to all the knowledge. That is another thing. It's knowledge sharing equally. Everybody should have access to all the knowledge we have on our planet. You know, like this idea that knowledge being kept in small circles, and this is the whole occult thing, right? It's like, oh, only us has those initiation rites, and you need to do all these steps and whatever to get, you know, to whatever level, and then you get all kind of titles. And yeah, sorry, but anyway, so we're coming back to the clans. Then so everybody had their task, how to be part of that community. And then, so in this example from the clan mother, who is there to bring justice to disputes. So she gets a dispute between two women, and one woman is accused by another woman of taking too much from the communal share of food. And then the woman that is accused is saying the other woman who's accusing her, is basically a gossip. Like, how do you call these people? Like, she just talks bad about everybody, and she puts her nose into affairs that are not hers, and she, like, there's too much gossip, basically. And then the clan mother has to bring justice. So what does she do? And that's also really interesting. So she goes 4 days into a silence where she communicates with herself and with the spirits of nature, with specifically also animals, but then also the spirit of the sky and the earth. And when you think about the animals, animals are such wise guides. Like, it is like, I can't believe how we've lost this understanding that we can be guided by animals, because it is really, when you think about our planet, the race that's bringing everything out of balance is really the humans, is us, you know. And because we as humans, we have these tendencies of the ego to go into the ego and to want to dominate and to want to take from others, and we act out of these traumas we're having. And so it is really us who actually, you know, but we put ourselves above everyone, right? Everything on this planet. But it is really us who actually is here to learn, you know, and is here to also learn from nature, because nature keeps everything so in balance. And, you know, last night in my veil, because right now I'm also running the Healing with Veils, and it's so nice because the veils are so amazing. And when it comes to me, for instance, with communication with nature, I very easily communicate with trees, comes very natural. with animals actually is really a skill you have to practice a lot, and it takes time. And with the whales now, I feel them with me all the time, and I feel they're in my field and they're guiding me, and I understand now how their medicine works and how they guide me, because it's very different than a tree. But I'm so excited to explore other animals too. I got this, oh my god, wait. So last week I got this, it's so cool. Wait, you can't see, if you don't follow me on, if you don't watch this on YouTube, you can't see this, but it's a painting of birds, because that's my next animal communication course I'm gonna do. It's communicating to birds, because I think they are incredible guides as well, and there's so many messages coming from birds, and they're so wise, and so anyway, so the clown mother, she was sitting right day and night, really in the silence, really with herself, and trying to understand also the situation. And then while she's trying to understand the situation, she gets these insights that, and also through her dreams. As dream work is important, we also do dream work now in that's my cat coming. We also do dream work now in the Whale course. We will do dream work going forward as well in all my courses, because we're getting a lot of messages and dreams, and it's really nice to analyze dreams together, because all of us have different viewpoints on how we look at dreams, and it's just really nice. But so she's also getting messages through her dreams, and then she understands that the woman who was taking too much was doing so because the winter before she had lost one of her children for starvation. So she felt guilty that she, as the mother, did not take enough food to keep her family alive. And that's why now, out of fear to lose another child, she was taking again more than what was contributed to everybody. And but at the same time, there are certain rules. Like, that is like when you want to create peaceful societies, you do have to uphold certain rules. So there is this rule that everybody also needs to take a fair share, and the same share, because then that is fair for everyone. And then she's also looking at the woman who is the one who basically told everybody about this, and denounced her? Yeah, kind of, said, she was doing this, and this is not right. And then with that woman, like, the clan mother recognizes that she is basically there. So there's another rule in the clan, in the tribe, that you should not put your nose into someone else's kind of energy field too much. Like, you should not disturb the peace and the personal space. They call it personal space, the personal space of someone else. And I find that very interesting, because they even have that when you walk down the road and you're like overhearing a conversation of someone else, you are not meant to share this with anyone else, because that's the personal space. And that's a really interesting rule to have, because it is important also to give people their privacy and to let people live their life, and to not just gossip about everybody and dig up everybody's dirt. And so this is really interesting. So anyway, but she's realizing that this woman is doing that because she grew up in a family with a lot of children. Her parents didn't have much time, couldn't give her much attention. So she learned she can gain attention by basically bringing up the dirt of others. But of course, it doesn't deliver her friendship, but it delivers her attention. And when you think about this, bad attention is also attention. So this is the same with our children, like sometimes I look at my kids, and when they act up, I'm like, yeah, they also just want attention. And if they do something, that they clearly know is not allowed or whatever, it is this, or they act up in other ways. It is also because wanting attention. And then so the clan mother is like consulting all the spirits of the animals and herself, and then the sun and the moon as well, like kind of spending in Mother Earth. And then she comes to speaking justice, because that's her role. And what she said, really interesting. So she said the woman that had taken too much it is not fair to take too much. It is not right. So she basically has to go back and collect food again, like everything she took too much, she has to collect it again, and then she has to distribute it, especially among the families who have also lost a child to starvation. And she has to spend 1 year looking after children that no longer have a parent because they lost the parent for whatever reason. And in that year, this woman is learning that there is many others who share the same grief about having lost a child and the same fears. And this is so much medicine in when you think about this, because we are alone with our fears and we are alone with our grief. But actually, when we think about, all humans are the same, we all want the same thing actually in the end of the day. And when we learn that others carry the same, it's so much easier to carry the burden among many than just one. And that's also why in the past, when there was a death, people come together as the community and share that grief together, because it's much easier. So the woman learns that, and then she also learns that she can let go of her own fears, basically, and her own guilt of providing for her family. And then the other woman, who was the one accusing her, this is also really interesting, she is to go with her to these families who have lost a child, and she has to listen. She has to learn to listen to all the stories, but she's not allowed to speak for a year and tell anybody the stories, because in the past, right, she was overhearing everybody's private business and then telling it to others. And it's also really interesting. And after the year, of course, they all come together and they share what they learned. And then that woman says she learned that that she was too nosy and that she was trying to get attention by the defamation she made, but that actually she could find true friendship in a different way, because she was trying for herself, right, to get attention, to get love, to get friendship. And she actually befriends the other woman then, and they both find true friendship in this. And it's a really nice story, I think. And it also shows so much that we are really here in this life to learn and to learn with others. And we had these people in the tribe, in the communities, that were basically like this clan mother, that were really very wise and could find a good judgment, even though it was not easy. She also learned in that situation, because she also felt a lot of pressure giving the right judgment, like saying exactly the right thing what these two women have to do. Because she was the one who said, you have to for a year not speak, you have to for a year look after all the children who lost their parents, and being sure that this is the right thing that leads to healing, because her task is, what is the right judgment for the group that leads to healing. And I mean, imagine there is a lot of pressure on that person too, but she also learned to deal with that pressure through this. But so we had these people, and that was, of course, it was much easier back then in a way. Now we don't really have these wise elders anymore, a wise part of the community, and we also don't have so much the tribes anymore. What we have remaining is the family and ourselves and our own inner work we can do. So what we can try now, when it comes to really preserving peace and learning how to preserve peace, is really looking at how can we do this in the immediate surroundings we are having, and doing a lot of reflection on why we are feeling certain ways, why we are acting certain ways, and looking at specifically, because as I said, the people who trigger you the most are your immediate family, your children, your partner, and then of course your parents, your siblings, and ascendant. But it is also, there's so much beauty in family, and there is, this is something my parents always say, like, blood is thicker than water. And there is so much truth, because family is also family, just like the tribe. can be really there for each other, like in dire situations, in difficult situations. You know, family, I mean, at least that's what I experience, and I feel count myself lucky that I experienced that. It's not easy in my family either. It's all kind of stuff and patterns and things going on, you know, but I do have the feeling, you know, the family is always there, and the family will hold together beyond disagreements and beyond arguments, because it is family, and it's the same with the tribe, right? When you see family or tribe, it's to hold together and to resolve conflicts beyond the conflict, right? Because you make a decision or like commitment in that unit to preserve, you know, the overall peace. And that doesn't mean you avoid conflicts. That's happening a lot too. You're just avoiding conflicts left and right. That's not the right way either, right? But it's about how to move in a constructive way through it, and also to really uphold the vision. I can create peace here in my family as much as possible. You always have some conflicts, you know, and arguments and whatever, but I can work towards peace as much as possible. And I remember when I separated, like, so many people did not believe in the idea that you can be amicable and friendly after separation. Now even they're always surprised, oh wow, you were so friendly with your ex-husband. I'm like, you know, why not? And it wasn't, but I also tell them it wasn't easy, you know, because yes, when two people, for instance, when you look at now, when you separate, you're gonna it's still the family, and you're gonna create extended family with potential new partners at some point coming in, and you still have to maintain as much as possible peace. And for instance, for us, it was also like, because I initiated the separation, because yeah, I mean, there were many reasons, but I also literally totally fell out of attraction and love to my ex-husband. And I mean, it would have been a great denial of my own needs and myself, and it would also be really unfair towards him if I pretended I still find him attractive. But imagine, it was a really difficult conversation to have with my ex-husband, when after 14 years that I always thought he was the, I don't know, you call this, like, the most amazing man and the most attractive man on the planet, and I loved him, of course. And I was being like, you know, I'm sorry, there is nothing in me anymore that wants to be together with you physically, and there's reasons for this, of course. And yeah, but imagine that is a difficult situation as well for a man, and he was upset and angry for quite some time, but well, we also moved beyond it, and you know, and now, for instance, there's always new situation coming in, like and fears you have to work through. So for instance, now, you know, there is most likely, he has a new partner, and well, he has a new partner. It's not most likely, but you know, in this new dynamics where also I'm like, oh my god, I'm the mother, and this is gonna be like a nice woman to my children. But it's also like, it's a lot of fears that women carry about, like, oh my god, when I separate, you know, then who's gonna be the new partner of my ex-husband, and how's she gonna be with the children. But you also need to remember, you married that person because, hopefully you married a person because you loved him, you know, and he chose you, and hopefully you believe you're a decent person. So to have the trust that that person would choose again a decent person and a nice person, and that person also has an important role to play in the life of your children, and to really have that trust into the man, and be into life, or God, or universe, whatever you will call it, that it's gonna be fine. And I mean, for me anyway, things are like really around, I see a lot of things like soul contract. So I knew the soul contract, when this happened to me, that I fell out of attraction to my ex-husband, I was feel like, okay, this is there's nothing I can do anymore. I mean, we tried, but it didn't work. Anyway, but I was like, okay, the soul contract is finished apparently. And I also then realized, okay, there are going to be other people coming into the life of my children on his side, and at some point also on my side I will have a new partner at some point, and that these people are going to be important for my children's life or our children's lives, and that they can maybe give something to them that like we as parents or we as people could not do, and to have really that trust that, you know, and a commitment that, you know, we can manage that in a peaceful way and in a friendly way. I think that is where we can start to create peace, is really looking at ourselves and looking also like at how are we inside of us. You know, what is the constant inner critic that we are having, and the fights we have with ourselves, and the nagging voice, you know, inside of us, like, oh, like how is that, and how is that then showing up in our immediate surroundings, and how can we transform that? So for instance, for me, like with my own mom, that's why I'm also doing the course on healing the motherhood. It's so important for me in my life, because, you know, I took on being a very critical person, and it's so interesting. And then I would be critical of myself, and I would see it then in people in my immediate surrounding that would be like my mother, would be critical with me. But once I changed that, once I changed my inner critic and criticize myself less, and also have less high expectations on others, which I'm still working on, because sometimes I can be a bit too much like in the high expectations. But then I see that people show up really differently. Like I just spent a week with my whole big family, which was really, really, really nice. And it was really nice. It was just like, yeah, everybody showed up like really loving to each other. And I had conversations with my mom that I would have not had 2 years ago, where like I could be vulnerable and say something that I'm struggling with, and sort of kind of see what her opinion is about that, and take her opinion in, not necessarily always on, because I also need to form my own opinion. But I would have not have done that 2 years ago, because I wouldn't wanted to show up as vulnerable or seen as weak, or you know. And now I can do that, and she can also show up now in a really not critical way, and it's really nice. It's really nice. So yeah, if you want to transform that relationship to your mom and your inner mom especially, and as a mom as well, you know, yeah, I would love to have you in my course starting in April soon. And oh yeah, anything else? Yes, there's one more thing I wanted to say, and that is also why I put out the course. So what is really interesting, what they found in these peaceful civilizations, is that there's very specific ways how they treat the children. And there are, for instance, there's no corporal punishment to children. And I think this is really where a lot of peace is starting, is how we treat our children. And that's also why, like, you know, everything coming out with Epstein and child trafficking and child abuse is so like, I mean, it's just like, you know, beyond. But we cannot go down the rabbit hole too much, because that takes us away again from the love and the joy. And actually also something I want to tell you is about the veils. So one of the message I received from the veils, which has to do with all of that, it's really, you know, the veils, they experienced a lot of trauma. Like so much of their population was decreased by us hunting them. And so they experienced so much loss among their own tribes. And I mean, they have a lot of feelings too. Their brain is bigger than our brain, humpback whales, you know. So you can imagine they're a little bit smarter than us, and they also feel a lot. So they have all these emotions too, and they must be grieving. They might be even angry, but they're not showing up angry towards us. And what is most important, they really prioritize joy, especially if their kids are so cute, the baby. Oh my God, I've spoken a lot about the baby humpback whales, but it's just like once you swim with a baby humpback whale, you're like, You're like, oh my God, this is it's such a cuteness, and it's just like incredible. But anyway, so I could go on forever about the baby or the babies, but and such a gift for the mother to allow us to do that. She could have just swum away. You know, she could have been, these humans. That's what I mean. She could have been like, these humans, they have been hunting us down, and just, you know, they are aggressive, they are awful. You know, she could have been like that, but no. No, she wasn't. She was just staying down and allowing us to be with her newborn child who had never seen, who was 1 month old, never seen a human in her life. And I mean, I find it incredible, you know. But anyway, so they prioritize still joy. There's so much joy that these whales are having, and like when they swim, and also when the male and female swim together, you know, it's so much fun. Like imagine us, like here in our world, like there's so much fighting going on between men and women, and there's tension also in dating and everything, you know. And but they just have fun, and that was one of the messages they told me. It's like, you humans need to prioritize more joy. Like really, we need to. That's why we have a lot of horrible things on our planet, and we should not look away. You know, we should definitely not look away. But at the same time, we also need to recognize that the influence we have isn't here in this private life that we are living. It's within us, is here in the immediate surrounding, with our family, with our friends. And this is where we can counterbalance what is happening there in other places where people unfortunately cannot live in peace, cannot live in harmony and enjoy because of the horrible crimes that's happening, and the war crimes and everything. But we also need to counterbalance it and start there, you know, and so have this balance on the planet. And yeah, and with the kids, you know, it's so also important for our kids how we show up to our kids, how we show up to ourselves, to our inner child. That's also part, you know, of the course I'm going to do, is really to work on that relationship so that we don't create, again, that's not a civilization, like generations of traumatized people, angry people, aggressive people, psychopaths. The psychopaths, you know, that do the child trafficking and the child sacrifices, they become psychopaths by the experience they had in their own childhood. That's how you create a psychopath, by abuse in their own childhood. And unfortunately, that's what these bloodlines are doing. You know, it is absolutely crazy. But unfortunately, it's happening. And that's why we need a counterbalance to it. By us being like, no, we're going to try. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You know, we're going to leave some sort of trauma on the kids for sure. But we can at least try, you know, with ourselves and then with the immediate surroundings. So now we're gonna do a little meditation to connect to peace. So I don't recommend this to you if you're driving, but you can do this later at home, and you're just coming, letting everything wash off us, connecting so you can close your eyes. Connecting to your breath. Feeling your breath in your heart, in your lower abdomen. Allowing yourself to relax your jaw. Relax your shoulders. Feel the breath as a massage to your organs, nourishing you, connecting you to life. As you're relaxing your jaw, you're relaxing your hips. Allowing your legs to relax and your feet. Imagine you are at the edge of a jungle, an opening that opens up to a waterfall and a stream. And for now you're just feeling, you're walking barefoot here, you're feeling the soil underneath your feet. You're feeling the sun on your skin. You're hearing the noises of the jungle, you're hearing the birds. Maybe you hear apes. You're smelling the fresh air coming from the waterfall. You're tasting sweetness in your mouth. And below you, you see this beautiful flower. I invite you to bend down for a moment and imagine you're very gently touching the flower. And you see the beauty in its creation, you see its colors, you smell its scent. It creates a level of warmth in your heart. Level of peace. And you feel the love that comes here from the Mother, from Mother Earth. And you're going to take some slow steps towards the waterfall. And as you walk towards, you feel the soil, the nature around you, and the aliveness and the beauty of a new day. And the warmth that the sun gives. And you feel how you're part of this. Part of the Mother's creation. Her child. And as you're coming closer to the waterfall, you're going to step slowly into the stream that's not very high. And you just feel the freshness, the coldness of the water as you're stepping in. And then the stream forms a pool that's just under the waterfall. And in this pool, actually, you can immerse yourself totally underwater. And after you adjusted to the coldness of the water, that's what you're going to do. You immerse yourself fully into the water. And here in this water, it feels almost like as if you are in the womb of a Mother of creation. You can feel still the heartbeat of Earth here. You can feel the love that the water brings and really feel how you're floating here, submerged underwater, and how the water, even though it's on the outside of your skin, also connects to the water within you. And how all the waters on the planet are connected. And you feel how your water within you connects here to this water and connects to all the water held in the plant kingdom, in the trees, in the flowers, in the bushes, all the water that's flowing through the veins, the blood veins of the animal kingdom. Are they all connected with the same water? How you're connected to the rain. It's coming from the sky. And you feel how this is all one, the flow of the mother. And you can feel here how the love of Mother Earth is flowing through this. How it is connecting us all. And then I invite you, when you come, you're going to swim towards the waterfall. And here it gets a little bit less deep and you can stand up. So you're slowly going to stand up. You're going to be still half in the pool and then half under the waterfall. And you're just feeling the water dripping down from your head down over your shoulders, your arms, your hands, torso, your back, and flowing into the pool. And you feel how this water comes from deep down in the earth, from wisdom held for thousands and thousands, millions of years, from all the generations that lived before you, and also the wisdoms of all the generations that may live after you. And how this water forms a circle from a source deep down in the core of Mother Earth, coming up through the stones, coming down here, and then flowing back into the pool and into the stream. And from the stream going into the oceans. And when you connect to the oceans, I invite you for a moment to feel the song of the whales that are flowing through this water. It's like the physical song, the expressed song of the Mother Earth, singing for creation, singing love into creation, singing beauty into creation. And how this flows here, how this song it's being sung by whales, by birds, by the stones itself, coming up from the soil, how it's flowing through you too. And how you might sing a song as well, in love and in honor of creation. And how you are part of this song, your own song that is flowing through you. Each of us is a song too. How this song is part of the overall song of Mother Earth, and how the whole planet is vibrating with a song. How you're all connected like that. I want you to hold on for this song for a moment in your heart. And then come back to your senses, feel the water again, dripping down your face, your body, and you're swimming again through the pool now, coming back to the shore, climbing out of the water, feeling the sun warming you, drying up the water here, and feeling again on your feet, under your feet the soil. And how you're breathing with the soil, just like every plant breathes with the soil too. How you're connected to earth through the core, to the bottom of your feet. And how you're connected to the universe through your breath. And coming back to the breath, into our physical body. Taking some deep inhales and exhales. coming back to the here and now, feeling the breath moving your organs, feeling it moving your lower abdomen, your chest, feeling it in your nose. Then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. That was it for today. Thank you so much for being with me, doing this little meditation. To create a moment of connection and peace in your life. And so it is. If you feel called, join me for healing the mother wound. It's going to be a really nurturing course. Yeah, a lot of nice feminine energy. So thanks so much. Have a lovely 2 weeks. Next week, most likely, I'm going to talk a little bit about spring. And we're maybe going to do some meridian exercises. Let's see. Yeah. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye. Follow me on Instagram at Echoes and Roots for grounded spirituality, ancient wisdom, and nature-based living.